So Jim Collins wrote a book, actually, Good to Great. And the question he's asking is, he wants to explain how some average companies become leaders while others don't. And he came up with the born to do concept. And this is what I want to show you today, actually. Who are we is basically finding out what are we born to do. So he says, actually, in the beginning when he wrote his book, everyone thought he was talking about companies. Now, how can you make great companies, and how can you find out who you are as a company, and how can you find out what you're born to do as a company? But the more you read his book, the more you understand that he's not talking only about companies, he's also talking about individuals. So what I'm suggesting while I'm doing this, presenting you this, what I'm suggesting is if you can think in your head, each and every one of you, what is your born to do? I'm going to ask a lot of questions. So if you want to take a company, or if you want to take yourself as an example, and you just answer those questions in your head, or you can write them down, and at the end I'll ask a few people to share that with us if you want to, because I think it's a great opportunity to really ask this question. So basically, Jim Collins came up with the hedgehog concept, and he came up with the 3-circle concept. The first circle is, what are you good at? That's the first question that we're going to ask. The second question is, what will people pay you to do? And I'll go over that in a minute. And the third circle, which is what we're really interested in, what are you born to do? So if we look at the first circle, the first circle is, what are you good at? The question is not, what do you think that you're good at? Because you probably think that you're good at a lot of things. The question is, what competences do you have, and what other people recognize you as being good at it? So we need, first of all, to make sure that you have the competences, and also that you are the best at it. So that's something that most people can find out after a while, after a few years. They can find out what they're good at, and the feedback that they receive from their friends or their family can tell them what they're good at. The second thing is, what will people pay you to do, which helps, right? The saying that says, do what you love and the money will follow is not really literally true, right? I mean, people would, if you like listening to classical music, I don't think that you're going to find someone that actually will pay you to listen to classical music. So you do need to find a market. You do need to find people that will pay for you to do what you're good at. And that's the second circle that we're talking about. And the third circle is what we're interested in here, is what are you born to do? Now this is a little bit more complicated to answer. Usually people are not really born with a sense of what they're supposed to do in life or in this world, and it's the same for companies as well. If, like I said, companies are paying very, very high fees for consulting companies to do that, or if Crayola was very innovative and very creative in thinking about that, they really had to go through a thought process. So the question is, we have Francis Ford Coppola says, do what you love, not because you're self-interest, but because you'll be better at it. We know that if we're born to do something, if we're good at it, and if we know that people will pay us for it, then we'll probably be successful. And that's Jim Collins' theory about the born to do theory that says that this is how you can be from good to great. Obviously you can be a good company, you can still sell, like Crayola would have to continue selling their crayons. No one would have, maybe not like the train industry go to bankruptcy. But they became a great company, and that's the difference between good and great. I was also going to bring a personal example, and I actually wrote a blog post about that, is that I found my born to do is to help other people finding their born to do. So it's an interesting story, and I'll tell you examples about that after. So basically I was going on after, who are we, what is our born to do, and another way of looking at it is also looking at our why. And this is another person whose name is Sinek, and I'll send the link to the TED Talk to Professor Maoz after that, because I think it's a great TED Talk conference that you can listen to. And basically Sinek looks at how do you explain, he basically has the same question that Jim Collins, and he says, how can you make the difference between leaders that inspire, companies that are great, and companies that are not, or leaders that don't lead to inspiration. What he says, and he takes actually Apple as an example. It's a very famous, everyone knows the example of Apple, but he looks at the example of Apple to teach us something, to teach us basically the difference between how we go from, in his golden circle, from the what, and the how, and the why. Basically, I'm going to go through each of those circles. It's different circles that Jim Collins, but it also defines what is the essence, what is the vision of the company, and how do we usually do marketing. When you look at a company usually, and when you ask the company, who are you? They would probably start by saying what they sell, what products they sell, what services they offer, and that would be their what. The what is really easy to understand because everyone can relate to it. The how is a little bit more complicated, but most companies do it also. The how would be your features, your facts, your the way you can describe your product, the advantages that the products can bring to the target market. So the how is more sophisticated, but most people can really describe their product. But when we get to the why, the question is really different. And the why is more, what is the purpose of your product, of your company, of yourself? What is the essence? What is your cause? What is your belief? What do you really bring different? I mean, if we're talking about competitive advantages, like what do you bring that your competitors don't bring? And so if we go through each of those circles, we see that if we take the example of Apple, if Apple was a regular company, we would say, what is the what of Apple? Well, they, sell iPhones, iPods, and computers. Everyone knows them. If we go to the how, we know that, if we look at the differentiation, the value proposition, unique selling point, added value, competitive advantages, you name it, we know that Apple creates beautifully designed products and they're really user-friendly. So if Apple was a regular company that would start, and they would have started by this description, I don't know if they would be so different and so innovative. If we go to the why, and we ask what is the purpose, what is the cause, then not a lot of companies have answers, but if we look at Apple, then we know that Apple is inspiring, because this is what they would answer. The why for Apple is, we believe in thinking differently. And people that want to buy Apple, people that wait 6 days in front of an Apple store to buy the first or the new iPhone, they don't do it because they just want to be an Apple customer. They do it because they believe in the same belief system that Apple has. They want to be different. They want to think different just like Apple. They want to identify themselves to the company. So if Apple would have to answer that question, the why is we believe in thinking differently. Because we believe in thinking differently, we create beautifully designed and user-friendly computers. And by the way, we just happen to make great computers. So the what becomes at the end. We start from the essence. We start by positioning ourselves with our difference. We explain that this is what happens when you know your why, you can describe your how, and finally we just talk about the products that everybody can understand. So if I have to conclude here, I would say that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And this is a very difficult positioning to hold on to. And the goal is not to do business with people who need what you have, but the goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe in. I'll tell you a story about a company that I've actually given consulting advice to that's also in the software business. The company was giving software, was making customized software for actually non-governmental, not non-profit organizations or government institutions. But they were also giving services and IT services and also making softwares for insurance companies or banks. Okay, so they had very diversified customer base, which can be good in one way, but the other way, when the CEO came to me, he said, I need some business development, I need to know where to go from here, and I don't know where to go from. So I'm not McKinsey, right? So I'm not charging that much money. But we did do some work together, and we thought about, okay, let's start with what are you good at? So obviously you're good at making software, computer software, then you obviously have already customers, so it's great. And people are ready to pay you for this, that's great. But what are you born to do? And then we decided to look at, most of the companies that he was giving services to. And he was giving he is actually still giving services to the Knesset, to a lot of the Misradim Mimshatim. And we all of a sudden realized that we were actually selling an ERP for a non-profit organization. And we changed the whole marketing strategy and the whole marketing approach to, we're selling ERP for non-profit. And this all of a sudden makes sense to him, to the people that are working for him, and to his clients. Because most of his clients, even though he had a bank or an insurance company here and there, but that wasn't his essence. That wasn't why he was doing it. And you can imagine what you can write about nonprofit once you know that this is your business. So you can just say that you're providing for the nonprofit world and that you're helping them to be more efficient. And that all of a sudden has a whole different vision and a whole different essence.